Happy New Year, everybody. Game Freak 346 here, bringing you another episode of Let's Showcase. And in this episode, let's showcase Hearthstone. Now, before I start off this episode of Let's Showcase formally, I would just like to say that there's going to be a change that I'm going to be making in this episode. Unlike the previous episode of Let's Showcase Blacklight Retribution, I will not be showing off the game's settings, customization. Although it is pretty small, let's just face it, that was very, very time-consuming. And I don't want to take up that much time in the video to simply talk about the graphics customization and stuff like that again, because truthfully I can't imagine that would be all that interesting to some people. And so I will be skipping over that entirely and going straight into gameplay analysis from now on in Let's Showcase videos. But anyway, with that said, let's get right into the episode. Now, what Hearthstone is, well, it's a free-to-play online card game. So, there are obviously things like this around the internet and things like that. You know, it's not a very standalone game as it comes to, like, just the concept of it. I'm not sure what I'm saying right now, but hey, I never write scripts for these things, because that's the amount of quality assurance that goes into these videos. Aren't you glad knowing that? But yeah, guys, it's not the only one of its kind. However, I do feel that this game, Hearthstone, does the digital card game in a way that I actually really enjoyed. Truthfully, I'm not usually a fan of digital card games. I always preferred playing the actual card game in real life and, you know, doing that because I always figured, you know, this is a lot more fun than playing the digital version of this card game. One good example of that would be when I first got into card games by playing Pokemon. This is not Pokemon, by the way. It is just not. So, let's get right on to explaining this thing. Just a disclaimer, I'm pretty bad at explaining card games, but I will try my best hand at it, so let's begin right now. So, as far as I've figured out in the amount of time that I've played the game, the basics of Hearthstone are as follows. First off, you have the various different types of cards. You have the spell cards, which add certain effects to creatures, such as increasing their strength. They can launch projectiles at enemies, or even at just not the minions, but the actual person you're playing against, and can deal direct damage. Some of them can restore health, some of them can give you extra mana crystals, which I'll get into later, etc, etc, etc. You also have minion cards, which are basically the monsters of the game. They have attack points, and they have health points, and all you really need to do is destroy them, or you can use them to directly attack whoever is controlling the enemy minions. On top of that, you have the actual, your being. You know, you are the master of these minions. You yourself also have health points, and can be directly attacked by most minions, as long as there aren't certain minions on the field with certain abilities. On top of that, you also have certain cards that can even give your being the ability to attack as if it were a minion. You can give yourself attack points as well as defense points that will block any incoming damage and completely eliminate it until the amount of defense you have is dropped to 0. This can be achieved by either enchanting cards, at least that's what I like to call them, because it's kind of like you're enchanting yourself, And you also have weapon cards, which allow you to use an actual weapon for a short period of time. They do have... you can technically hold on to them for an infinite amount of time. However, every time you use a weapon, it degrades, and once it degrades enough, it just shatters into pieces, and the only way you can get it back is to cast whatever spell or incantation or whatever they call it that gave you the weapon in the first place. You also have certain cards that can improve these weapons, such as increasing their attack. I haven't seen any that increase their endurance, so I'm not sure if there are cards that can do that. But as far as I know, you can so far only upgrade the weapon's damage, which is still useful, because you only have 30 health points. That is your maximum. I have tried using spells that restore HP, but they didn't take me above 30. If I was at 30, that was it. That was all. That was everything. Nothing more. Probably less. Now, let's get... Actually, I nearly forgot one thing. See, I told you I wasn't good at explaining these things. You also have certain things called hero powers. What these are special powers given to your hero. Certain ones are weaker than others. Certain ones can actually give you weapons, or give you the attack power and defense points for a single turn. Some of them just directly attack things, doing direct damage in any way they possibly can. So there are a variety of different abilities. Every single hero in the game definitely has a specific ability. And I really think that that adds a lot of variety to the gameplay, because there are actually quite a few classes. I'll get into that soon in this Let's Showcase episode, but since every single one of them has something different as their special ability, I feel like it really helps increase diversity in the gameplay, because you're not always constantly seeing the same ones over and over again. Now, since we've gotten all through that, I should probably get into the abilities of the minion cards. And there are quite a few of them, so many that I couldn't memorize them all in time because I don't write scripts for these things, because that's just how much effort I put into these things. I basically just throw the videos into Premiere Pro and start recording, hoping that I can get through the video. Now, that is just a lot, so let's get into them. You have battle... First, there are types of abilities. You have Battle Cry, which is a ability that is triggered as soon as you play the minion from your hand, and is not activated again. You have Charge, which enables a minion to attack on the same turn as it is summoned, which is a really useful ability because minions without that need to wait an entire turn to be able to attack, and so if they're destroyed before that turn is over, because obviously the enemy gets a turn before that happens, if they're destroyed during that, it was basically mana wasted, unless, you know, it took out one of their higher level monsters, in which case it was definitely not wasted, because there are definitely some minions that are hard to deal with in this game. You have Chosen One, which gives the controlling player the ability to choose 2 or more effects stated on the card. These are only found on Druid cards, by the way, so you also have class-specific cards and class-specific card abilities, which is cool as well. You have Combos, which are effects triggered if you already played another card in turn. These are only found on Rogue cards. Counters prevent the next enemy spell cast from taking effect. There is currently only one card that uses Counter, and it is the mage-specific spell Counter Spell. Death Rattle, an ability that is triggered when the minion dies. Divine Shield absorbs the first sort of damage taken by the minion, removing the shield. Now, this also does apply when you are attacking minions, because you would take damage since they're obviously attacking you back. And so this would absorb all of that. And if you have a minion with Wind Fury, that can be really useful. Wind Fury plus a Divine Shield. Yes, a Divine Shield can be absolutely awesome. I don't think I've found any cards with that, though, so unfortunately I don't think that combo would be viable right now, but if it is possible, that would be an awesome way to take out higher level minions. You have Enrage, which while damaged, the minion will get the stated effect. Healing the minion will remove the effect, obviously, because, you know, it only occurs when damaged. Freeze, frozen characters cannot attack. Immune, cannot be damaged. Pretty self-explanatory, that one. Mega Wind Fury can attack 4 times each turn. Currently, the only card to use that is the uncollectible minion VO7TRON. So yeah, if you have that card, my gosh, Mega Wind Fury. Overload, you have an X less mana next turn. This effect is activated when the card is played from the hand and typically allows a powerful card to be played for a low mana cost this round, at the price of reduced mana next turn. This is only found on Shaman cards. The secret is a special type of spell card that remains hidden until its trigger conditions occur, revealing it and triggering its effects. This can only be activated during the opponent's turn. Silence removes all card texts, enchantments, and abilities from the target minion. Stealth. Minions with stealth may not be the target of attack spells or abilities until they attack or deal damage. Once they attack or deal damage, stealth is removed. Minions with stealth can still be affected by AoE spells such as concentration, and randomly targeted spells such as arcane missiles, which is actually a pretty good one considering it only costs 1 mana. Spell damage increases the output of your damaging spells by X. Summon summons the specified minions. Distinct from simply playing a minion card from the hand, this is an ability found on spell or minion cards, sometimes triggered by a battle cry or death rattle. Yes, I actually have a few cards in some of my custom decks that actually do have the battle cry summon abilities, which is actually pretty useful because it gives you an extra line of defense for the cost of only 1 monster. Taunt, this one is really useful if it's a strong taunt. Enemies must attack minions with taunt before any non-taunt characters. This includes minions and hero melee weapon attacks. Taunt is illustrated by a large shield-like border. This is extremely useful if a strong monster has taunt on it. And in fact, there are some cards that I have in my custom druid pack which can actually add a taunt onto monsters. One of them, I think, the Mark of the Druid, adds taunt onto a minion, as well as gives it +2/+2/+2 attack, +2 health, which is extremely useful because if I use that on one of my stronger taunt ability cards, then I can have an extremely powerful card, which is the only target. That may not sound good, but that also means that if they have weaker cards out there, they can't attack me until they get rid of that thing, which means they're probably going to have to deal with a lot of their weaker minions being destroyed. Let's go on to the next one. Transform changes a minion into something else irreversibly. Now, my favorite one so far is the Mage spell. I don't think it's Mage specific, or maybe it is. It's probably Mage specific, but it's called Polymorph, and what it costs 4 mana, and whatever minion you cast it on permanently turns into a 1/1 sheep. you turn it into a sheep. And then you just have regular Wind Fury, like Mega Wind Fury, only twice instead of 4 times. Other abilities you have are the card draw effect. This is usually a battle cry ability. You know, pretty self-explanatory. Figure that one out for yourself. Clumsy, an unofficial term for a minion which has a 50% chance of attacking the wrong enemy. I like that one. Copy. Copies an existing card, usually combined with a summon effect to summon the copy into the battlefield, or a generate effect to place it into the player's hand. Deal damage. This is, you know, pretty self-explanatory again. Destroy. Destroys a minion, weapon, or secret without dealing damage to it. Discard. Causes the player to discard one or more of the cards from their hand. Elusive, an unofficial term for minions which cannot be targeted by spells or hero powers from either player. Equip, equips the hero with the stated weapon. Generate, generates a new card and places it in the player's hand. Mind control effect, transfers ownership of the targeted minion. Poison, any minion damaged by a minion with poison is destroyed. Poison is denoted by a bubbling flask at the bottom of the minion's portrait. Put into battlefield, directly places a card from the player's deck or hand into the battlefield without triggering any battle cries. Put into hand, draws a card of a specific type directly from the player's deck into the hand. Restore health, heals, return, returns, shuffle, places a card into the player's unused deck with its placement randomly determined. Now, these are just all the abilities. These can be basically just filtered down into these types of effects. Area of effect, ongoing effect, positional effect, random effect, removal, and triggered effect. So yeah, I'm glad I had the wiki up for that one, because there's no way I was going to be able to memorize all that. And there's also no way that I was going to be able to write a script for all of that either. Man, this has been going on for already like nearly 20 minutes, and we're only done explaining the abilities. Well, let's get right on to the next thing, why don't we? We have the final issue here, mana. Mana is obviously very important, as it is the thing that allows you to cast your cards, whether it be minions, armor, weapons, spells, hero powers, etc., etc. Everything costs mana. You get 1 extra mana crystal per turn, with a maximum of 10. There are also certain cards that add empty mana crystals into your mana crystal bar down on the bottom right corner of the screen. And this basically just makes it so that you have an empty mana crystal, and so that will be filled along with the extra mana crystal you are automatically given at the beginning of every turn, which is pretty useful actually. You also have certain cards like the coin, which you get if you don't win the coin toss and have to go second, so it's kind of a way to balance out the gameplay to make sure that people that go second aren't always going to lose, because they have this card, the coin, which for 1 turn gives them an extra mana, which allows them to get some pretty powerful cards out a turn earlier than the other guy, unless the other guy, you know, used a card that gave him more mana, in which case, well, sucks to be the guy going second in that case. But anyway, yeah, I actually think that does it for all the rules of the card game. I know I basically just gave you guys the abilities, and then everything else was the very, very, very extremely absurdly abridged version, but my gosh, guys, it took me like nearly 15 or so minutes just to explain the abilities of the card. So, yeah, you're gonna have to settle for the abridged version for now. Whew, boy, I need a break from explaining, so you know what? Now that we're finally done explaining, let's go straight into the gameplay. I will be doing more explaining, obviously, during the gameplay. However, it will not be quite as in-depth as this, obviously. Oh boy, finally done. Let's get right on with this. To the gameplay! Now, what we have here is the first online match that I ever played. Now, the reason I'm showing you this instead of freshly recorded footage is because of the fact that, unfortunately, at the time of recording this, it turns out that Battle.net, the client that you require to use to launch the game through, is having issues authenticating people, and so I cannot currently log in to play the game. Kinda sucks, but, you know, this is why I recorded about, 2 hours of extra footage earlier yesterday. Because that way, I would have stuff prepared, just in case this did happen. You see, this is why I always pre-record my stuff, although it's not always the best idea. But anyway, yeah. So, the reason I'm telling you why this is, why I'm telling you this is my first match is because of the fact that I'm actually pretty proud that I actually managed to win my first match. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect and never lose. In fact, I think I recorded at least 3 losses and 2 wins. Two of those losses were to characters in the single-player mode that I was trying to unlock and just didn't have the right deck to go about beating them. And so I just ended up beating the other characters and then going back to fight them. I didn't get footage for all of the fights, for obvious reasons, but I do feel like I got enough footage to fill the extra 10 minutes that I wanted to put onto this video. So, with this first fight, I came into it really unprepared, let me tell you that. I was seriously losing in the beginning of this game. I mean, seriously, it was just... it was bad news for me, but, turns out that I actually managed to get myself back into the game and managed to beat this guy, so I just figured that I'd show you guys this footage of my first fight, along with, if I have time, maybe a bit more, so... Anyway, yeah, I think that actually does it for this footage. I'm going to skip ahead to when I win, because I only want to make this about a half-hour video, because I don't want this to be another nearly an hour-long Let's Showcase episode, because, ooh boy, even I don't like making those videos. But I do want to make sure that this is a good length video, so... think I'm gonna skip ahead to when I win, and I'll see you in the next fight. And there we go. 9 damage, dang. First victory. Bloody key, by the way. Just wanted to show this off, because I could. Just because. Because I could. And... I got a card pack for it. Pretty cool, right? Plus, I also unlocked the warrior, as it was a warrior that I hadn't played against before, so... yeah, I got quite a lot of stuff in this game. Really happy about that. Anyway, on to the next fight.
Jaina versus Malfurion.
I must protect the wild.
You asked for it.
Okay, now, what happened here is, in the second game, just like in the first game I just showed you, I actually had to go second. Now, as you can see there, this is another way that they decided would help in balancing the game so that the second player doesn't always lose. Not only do they give you the coin card, which gives you the extra mana crystal, but they also give you a 4th card instead of the usual 3 cards for your starting hand, meaning that you effectively start the game with 2 extra cards instead of the regular 3, which is very good considering that you're going second, and really should get your hands on those extra cards because, you know, let's just be honest, you're probably going to need them depending on your hand. And so it's a very useful thing that I believe, and I really do appreciate that they actually went ahead and did that. Now, as you can see, this is another new character I'm fighting. This is another online match, not single player, online. And this is actually where I unlocked the character, as I did win this second game, which I am very happy about, because I obviously wanted this character. And I really like this character. In fact, it's my favorite one so far. I really like its special hero power, and on top of that, it has some really good class-specific cards that I have put into my custom-made deck, which, yes, you can make custom decks, which I really do like when games like this allow you to make custom decks, because I do know of a few games that don't allow you to actually customize your deck, and only allow you to use pre-mades, which is not good for a game like this, because really that takes away a lot of the fun in the game, right? But anyway, yes, that is the second game. Now, just a disclaimer right here, if I sound like I'm pretty out of my element right now, that's because this is pretty much the first time that I have ever had to do post-commentary on a pre-recorded video, and truthfully, I don't really like doing post-commentary. I like doing live commentary a lot more, just because of the fact that I don't have to, like, it's easier for me to follow along with the video at hand when I'm doing live commentary, because I'm watching it right then and there. I'm watching the video that I recorded right now, but it's still harder to follow because I'm not making the decisions. Past me is making the decisions, and I can't remember what past me was thinking when he did some of this, but hey, he won the game, so I guess that's a good thing. Why am I referring to myself in the past tense?
Job's done.
Never mind. But anyway, I'm really hoping they get the server issues fixed and that I don't have to do this again, but oh well. Anywho, let's skip ahead to the victory screen, and then I have one more fight that I want to show you all. Okay, now this is the final turn of the fight. I thought that spell damage would affect that hero power of mine, but alas, it is not technically a spell. However, well, yeah, this happened. And there we go, another victory for me.
One more level, and you'll unlock another card.
Ah, man. I just realized how close I was to a level up right there. Unlocked the Druid. And looks like that's it.
Jaina versus Jaina.
You asked for it. My magic will tear you apart.
Well, looks like I'm going first in this fight. And yeah, I'm going up against another person using Jaina the Mage. I lost this fight. We had pretty similar decks as far as I saw. He was pulling out pretty much the same cards that I was, and that swap did not help me out at all. I mean, I still got a 1 mana only card, and it had charge, which meant that I could get out some early damage, but I probably would have been better off keeping that other card just because it was low mana cost. And then that happened. Arcane Missiles is really powerful considering it's only 1 mana, dealing 3 possible damage. Of course, it is randomly distributed, so yeah, that's a thing. But it's still pretty powerful considering. But anyway, I lost this fight. There's pretty much nothing more that I can say about it. And yeah, just showing off the history of the fight right there. And so, I don't really have much more to say about this fight. I am just going to let you see the effect of that. Okay, and okay, decent cards right there. And yeah, I think I'll skip ahead to, of course, the lost screen, and then I think that'll be it for this episode. So, let's do that. Now, this is the final turn of the fight. 2 fireballs in a row to the face. Had no chance of surviving that. Seriously, that's nearly half health right there. But anyway, truthfully, I wasn't very upset about losing this fight, because I really wouldn't have gained much if I had won the fight. I believe I still got the reward for leveling up or something, but I wouldn't have gotten much more than that just because of the fact that I wouldn't have unlocked a new character, because, you know, they were playing as the same character as me. And there you have the quest progress, and I think that's going to do it. So, at this point, I switch over to single player so that I can start unlocking more characters, because I didn't want to have to deal with unlocking them through online play. But anyway, that's pretty much it. Yeah, let's go on to finishing up this episode, why don't we? But anyway, guys, I think that does it for this episode of Let's Showcase. We reviewed a few of the rules. I gave you the extremely abridged version, except for the part where I had to look at the wiki, so yeah, that was interesting to say the least. And on top of that, showed you some gameplay. 2 wins, 1 loss. I'm feeling really good about that. But anyway, guys, yeah, so in the next episode of Let's Showcase, which I'm hoping to start doing these monthly, as I just found out in making this video that they actually don't take as long as they used to now that I have better editing software, because I did make Let's Showcase Blacklight Retribution in Movie Maker, and my gosh, that took a long time. I think I had to render that thing a total of 12 times to get in all the edits that I had in there. Plus, I needed to re-edit parts out afterwards, and it was just not fun. But now that I'm using Premiere, it is a lot easier and a lot faster to make these. They're not the fastest videos to make, obviously. I think I've so far spent about maybe 12 hours in total recording footage and editing it in with the voiceovers for this video. But truthfully, it's not as long as I thought it would take, so I'm hoping to start doing these monthly if I have enough games that I haven't yet played that I want to show off. So anyway, guys, in the next episode of Let's Showcase, I think we're going to be going on to a less recent game that came out, I believe, early 2013, 2014, can't remember which year it was, for a pretty lengthy, actually, and pretty cheap indie fighting game. So, anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to absolutely destroy that like button, add it to your favorites, and make sure to subscribe and join the Freaks today. All 3 of those will really help out a lot. Also, if you have any suggestions for games that I should play in the future, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. And also, make sure to leave a comment whether or not you would actually be interested in seeing this game Hearthstone, not Hearthstone, Hearthstone, as a side Let's Play going up every Sunday. But anyway, guys, yeah, that does it for this video. See you guys in the next episode of Let's Showcase. Peace.